Okay, Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah, sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, wa rahmatika arhamar rahimin. So inshallah we'll begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We send our blessings and salutations upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and we also thank the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala wa ajma'een. Wallahi, my brothers and sisters, I always say this, and I think if you know me, you've already memorized it. If it wasn't for the Sahaba, me and you wouldn't have enjoyed the religion. I really say it, why? Because Sahabas were the people that took this religion very seriously. And they're the ones who actually followed this religion to the teeth. And they're the ones who actually did not challenge. Today we challenge, and that's why we're asking so many questions. I mean, the biggest question that we have is this the end of times? That's the biggest question. So, inshallah, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to actually only focus on one hadith, and I'll give you some principles, some fundamental principles, in order to make it out to yourself if this is the end of times or if it's not the end of times. Now, subhanAllah, you're not the first ones. And you're not the first ones ever guilty to ask this question. I tell you what, when the First World War happened, they asked the same question. When the Second World War happened, they asked the same question. When the Spanish flu happened, they asked the same question. And when the coronavirus happened, we asked the same question. And now we're in another event, and we're asking the same question. So we're not the first ever ummah to be guilty of asking this question. So, and I tell you what, there's a scholar in Andalus in Spain, and it's famous, 800 years ago he came. He was so confident that Dajjal will come in his time. And he also told his students that if you see Mahdi, say my salam to him. That's 800 years ago. And we still haven't seen him. But you see all these hadith, you know, they're adding up. Because we make analogies. I understand it's plausible. I'm not saying it's not. You know, when you hear the hadith that your thigh will speak to you, that your feet, your shoe will speak to you, and your whip, the tip of your whip will speak to you. And then we make out, we say, okay, it's a mobile phone because it's in our pocket, and the thigh will speak to you. So we make all these analogies, and there is no problem in making analogies, but you need to understand when these events are happening, there's a way how things work. And inshallah, and subhanAllah, when it comes to the youngsters, when you say you're speaking about end of times, they become excited. Yeah, this is it, this is for me. And subhanAllah, when you speak about Dajjal, I'm going to take on Dajjal. Why? Because I've been going to Anytime Fitness 2 hours a day. That's 5 days a week. I want to take on him. I'll take him out with one punch. But let me tell you, I mean, my students are thinking I'm taking on them. Why? Because they're the ones who go to Anytime Fitness. But understand, Dajjal is not something that you want to meet. Dajjal's a warning. That's something Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, that you want to run away from it. You head the opposite direction, because it's a fitna that you cannot deal with. So you don't go to take on Dajjal. You go away from him, so you can carry on with your iman. So it's very important. Also, it's important to mention over here that when we look at these signs, we have to look at these signs in chronological order. We can't mess up this chronological order. Why? Because if we do so, now we are going to get wrong. Now I give you, there's many scholars, mashallah, since the algorithms, you know, they're funny. If you are on YouTube, mashallah, you get all these videos, why this is the start of it. I got a video that Mahdi is coming to free Bayt al-Maqdis, you know, some Islam production. I got that video. I was intrigued, and I watched it as well, and I laughed afterwards. So it's okay. Like, you have these videos where, not going to mention people, where they say British is Dajjal, or they say Ya'juj and Ma'juj, the Chinese and the Russians, And there are so many analogies. Okay, well, if you say British is the Dajjal, the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam clearly says, Rasulullah says, Dajjal is like Ibn Qattan. He's more closer to him. I'll tell you what, there's no white European in Medina or Mecca. And Ibn Qattan did not look like Boris Johnson. So it's important that we know how these hadith sciences work before we go out and give these verdicts. And it really, and also when these guys are out there online, it should be a red flag when they start giving you timeline, place, and all these other things. Why? And dates. Why? Because the hadith never speaks about date, and it never speaks about a specific time. Because when someone is giving that, that should in itself be a red flag. You should actually stop that video over there and watch the other Dajjal video. Maybe that might have truth in it. So these are the things that you should be looking at. So it's very important, you know. Anyone that's speaking very precisely, that's a problem. Because even some of the hadith are not that precise as well. And as I said, you know, when you look at the hadith, it's where the Dajjal emerges, and you look at the Muslims as well. Clearly, the hadith says that after they will free Constantinople, they will hear that Dajjal has come out. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will send 10, sorry, not Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mahdi at that time, the 10 scouts will go, 10 scouts, 10 people, and they will go to look for him. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in the hadith, I even know who they are, I even know the names of their father, I even know the color of the horses as well. Now you must be thinking, we're in 21st century, who's riding horses? Few days ago, I watched someone riding horses in Bankstown. Someone I know actually. It was on their Facebook. So I actually know those people on a personal level. The ones who are actually riding horses in the streets of Bankstown. Maybe that's the scout. It's not really. Now see, as I said, it's plausible. This is what you need to understand. Now, the Sahaba understood horses. It's not that it could be only horses. It could be anything else. It could be a car. It could be anything. You can interpret those things according to your time. It's very important. And also, another thing very quickly, because we spoke about this, the hadith of freeing Constantinople, which is modern day Istanbul, is without shooting an arrow. Now, who shoots an arrow? No one shoots an arrow. Like everyone, if you think about what's happening around the world, it's guns and it's RPG. Now, subhanAllah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not want to say that. He wanted to make it easy. Arrow is like, could be a bullet, could be anything. He wanted to make it easy. Imagine if he said people be shooting RPGs. You know, if he said that, I mean, that's just a question. And they would say, قالوا, they would say, Ma RGB ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And they would ask a question, what's an RGB? It's just confusing people. So that's why it's important that we interpret these things according to, you know, it's plausible. We need to keep it open. It depends on the time as well. So I'm not telling you it's only arrows. I'm not telling you it's an RGB or anything like that. It depends when these signs are going to come. And number two, you need to understand when these signs are going to come, they will come immediately, one after the other. Because you know the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he says the major signs, when these signs start, it will be like a necklace with beads. One falls after the other. It's a rapid sign, one after the other. You're not waiting for 2 years for another one to come. One finishes, the other one's there, waiting for you. You know, if you've got a bead, I don't have beads, but if you've got a bead, if you break it, the first one falls and the other ones hurry up. They actually, some of them will fall faster than the first one. The first one might be stuck to the string and they're falling off. So that's how quick these signs are. This is something that we need to know, and it's important. And subhanAllah, when you look at many signs, I can go on and speak about these signs, but we have to make sure that the first thing I'm telling you, that these signs have to be in chronological order, and these signs also have to be backed by one another. It cannot be something which is scattered. And inshallah, I've got only one hadith from Muslim, which I'm going to read. And today, the idea of this program is every fortnight, we're going to start with the signs of the Day of Judgment. So this is the new series. So every fortnight, I'm going to start with that. Before we go, just very quickly, I'm going to start with the minor signs and the major signs. The ulama said there's only 3 kinds of signs that will come. The first signs are the minor signs that will only occur once. The death of the Prophet, okay? The birth of the Prophet. It's not going to happen every day, okay? It happened only once. And then he said there are signs which are the number 2 one, the minor signs which are reoccurring signs. And will keep on happening. And one of those signs, as we know today, that we live in, that he said that alcohol will be rampant. That's a sign. In our days, if you were to go back in 1900 only, just 1900 in America, do you know alcohol was haram in America in the 1920s? But they could not keep up with that ban, so they had to just open it. There was black market, so it became so prevalent. Now you look at your society that you sit in, alcohol is everywhere. Alcohol is inside Muslim houses. Now you should not be surprised, this is common. It's inside Muslim houses as well. So, and the third ones are the major signs, the 10 major signs, which are going to come one after the other. And the first of those major signs is Dajjal. And the second one is Isa, because he's going to come to take him down. Mahdi is not a major sign. It's the bridge between the major sign and the minor sign. So he comes in the picture to give the way to Isa and Dajjal, who are actually about to come in. So he's not a major sign. So this is what you need to understand. Now, when we always look at these signs, subhanAllah, I'm not telling you that what I'm saying right now, when we look at the hadith, we look at the sciences, this is not it. Because the things that are coming are not one after the other. This is something, you know, when the hadith says that there will be killing, and the killing will be prevalent, it will be everywhere, not just in one part of the world. Not just what we're seeing now, not at a small scale. That will be everywhere in the world. And inshallah, that's a hadith that I will, and it will be a catastrophe. Many people will die, huge numbers. And this is inshallah what we're going to talk about. And I'll give you my response inshallah, and that's what I want to do. And I'll give you what the description is, and how will Mahdi emerge, and what are the events that will take place before the Mahdi comes. Now, if you were to look at the world just like this, just how the world is right now, I'll tell you what, this is not the end of the world, and this is not the signs, not even the minor signs which is fulfilling one after the other for Mahdi to come. It's not even fulfilling that. Now, also, I was watching a documentary, and this is just very recently. It's about dollar being collapsing, and you probably might have watched that as well. They said the first 2 countries that will be really hurt by dollar collapsing is UK and Israel. Now you must be happy. You must be making dua, the dollar collapses tomorrow. So if it does, the first 2 countries that will be hurt the most, and that will plunge the entire world into poverty, and that's when things will start. And that could be a sign. I'm not saying that's not one of the signs, but that could be a sign. And so the entire economy and the entire world collapsing. So these are the things that we make. But the problem comes when we take these things and we start saying, this is it, it's coming. That's it, that's the first sign that's going to happen. Another thing, subhanAllah, we say this, and this is wrong as well, and I want you to do your homework, you go home. You all say Mahdi is going to come and free Palestine. I tell you what, that's an insult on the Palestinians. That's an insult on all of us sitting over here, that we are going to wait for Mahdi to come and free Palestine. The hadith does not say that Mahdi will free Palestine. It says he will go to Quds, to Palestine. It doesn't say anywhere that he will free Palestine. Because if you do that, what you're saying to the youth, sit, relax, go to the gym, pump your muscles, wait for the Mahdi, because that's the only time you're going to free Palestine. This is not it. And I give you why. Because we are not raising these children over here, mashallah, the younger ones that you brought in. And I make dua for you guys, you parents, to raise him like, yeah, I give you vision. I'll give you a vision. You know Salah ad-Din? He conquered Palestine. You know Salah ad-Din was a Kurd. Do you know who he worked under? He worked under a Turk. Who can give me the name of that Turk? He worked under a Turk. He was the general of the army of that Turk. That Turk had a vision. He had a vision, and he raised Salah ad-Din, showing him that this is where we need to go. And you see this mimbar, I've made it for the day. When I free Quds, I'm going to stand on this and I'm going to give the khutbah on that day. And that Turk is no one else other than Nuruddin Zinki. That's the leader. He had a vision. He raised the army. And look at the unity of the Muslims. Today you look at the Turks and the Kurd. SubhanAllah, it's like putting curry into biryani. Don't know if that made sense, but the idea is they can't mix together. So this is a Turk and this is a Kurd, and they're both in the same army, and he's the leader. He's raising him on a vision. Allah did not inspire Nuruddin Zinki to take over Palestine or Quds. Do you know Nuruddin was such a noble person? He had Rasulullah in his dream, and Rasulullah asked him to save his grave from these two people. He even showed him exactly how these people look like. These were the Jews who had come to Medina to dig under the grave, to the inside, under the masjid, to get to the grave of Rasulullah. I'm not going to go into the story, it's a long story, but this is who Nuruddin is. And Nuruddin dies. Salah ad-Din conquers Palestine, Quds. Guess what he does? He orders the mimbar that was made by Nuruddin to be brought in, and he stands on that and he gives a khutbah. Now I ask you parents, mashallah, all you parents are over here, when was the last time you raised your child like that? We keep on making dua, oh Allah send Salah ad-Din. Salah ad-Din, my brothers and sisters, with all due respect, he's not coming out of the grave. Okay? So if you're thinking he's going to come out from the grave on a black horse, then you're deluded. And neither is Omar coming out from his grave as well. So none of these people are going to come out. So what are we going to do? You have to raise that Salah ad-Din in your house. You have to raise him. Do you know Mehmed? Do you know Mehmed II, who conquered Constantinople? When he was a little child, they used to show him from the sea. From that sea, that's the place that you want to conquer. He was only 22 when he conquered Constantinople. And that's why we are suffering today. You know why we're suffering? Because when they were going inside Constantinople, and it's registered, these priests were fighting on how to pray and what to do in prayers. And this is exactly what we do in the masjid today. We are fighting on petty issues. Should we say Ameen? Should we join the feet? Should we do this? Should we do that? That's the petty issues that we're fighting. And our ummah is being desecrated. And that's exactly what these people, these Romans, were doing when Mehmed was attacking them. The priests were arguing about petty issues. And that's what we have today. People come and say, oh, should I boycott? Is it haram? Should I go on a rally? Is it haram? SubhanAllah, asking all these questions. When you see the imams are participating in these rallies, when they're telling you to boycott, now what else do you need? You don't have to ask these questions when they're made very clear to you. So that's the thing, you know, subhanAllah. That's why I said, when you say that Mahdi is going to come and free Palestine, that's an insult to Mahdi, and that's the insult to Palestinians as well. He's not going to come and free Palestine. He will go to Palestine. That's what the hadith says. Nowhere in the hadith, not even any fabricated hadith, says he's going to free Palestine. This is what we need to know. That's what we need to know. And subhanAllah, this is another one. Media will say, because it's being recorded, and you know I love media, they will say that I'm being anti-Semitic. Do you know the hadith says there'll be 70,000 Jews from Isfahan that will participate in the army of Dajjal. Now if the media heard it, they'll say this imam's anti-Semitic. But guess what? Let me tell the media, it's not just the Dajjal that will have Jews as well. The Dajjal will have atheists in there, Christians in there. The Dajjal will have Muslims in there. Why? Because Rasulullah clearly said in the hadith, the time will come that you will tie your wives to the, you know, to inside the house and the pillars, and even then they will let loose and go and participate with the Dajjal. We're not saying the sisters that, with all due respect, this is the hadith of Rasulullah, and not demeaning anyone, but this is what it is. And understand, subhanAllah, there's a reason for that, there's a logic for that. Women generally are, you know, attracted to the fitna more easier than men. As you see, the younger girls, they're fighting so many fitnas, the fitna of fashion, and they're even fighting how to wear, you know, to wear hijab or not to wear hijab. I know there's more, you know, there is more that women needs to do. And sometimes when you live in these Western societies, you feel like you're in a shackle. Yes, your battles are more stronger or more difficult than men, but also understand there's a reason that they can be lured easily than men. Not saying men are not. Some men can be lured even easier than women, but this is what the explanation that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was giving. And also, these are some of the signs. Now, very quickly, let's get into before Dajjal coming and everything happening. The first thing he said, the Euphrates, which is in Iraq, Furat, will actually start drying out. And when it dries out completely, it will actually give way to a mountain of gold. Now subhanAllah, you're thinking, you know what, that's a house in Kellyville. If I get to Euphrates. But guess what, Rasulullah gave you a warning that anyone who goes close to that mountain, 99 of you will die and only one would be able to reach there out of 100. So idea of this hadith is not that when you hear about Euphrates, that gold being shown, the idea is to run away from it. Don't go there. Don't book a flight in Emirates to Iraq and to get that gold. The idea is when you hear that, you don't even go close. Why? Because you will be killed in getting that gold. That's the idea. That's why the warning is there. So scholars are telling us to act, not act to go get that, to act to go away from that. That's the idea. What's the second one? The Arabs, the Arab land will return back to greenery. Now you must be thinking 1400 years ago when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying the Arabs will return back to greenery. Were they ever green 1400 years ago? The terrain, if you know your geography really well, the terrain land of the Arabian Peninsula is the most dry land, particularly Mecca. There's nothing in Mecca. If you ever go to Medina, that's a different story. There's nothing in Mecca. How's it green? Now if you see so many tweets or videos that you've seen, that you're seeing green lands and pastures and this and that. But let me tell you what, if you go back to geology, you will find back in the time, this land was also green. How? Can someone tell me? What do you find in the Arab lands? Oil. What was oil before? These are carbon organisms. So they were there And then that's what happened to them, and this entire land became what it became. That's just one argument. I'm not here to give you a science lesson because that's not even my expertise, but definitely you can go and look it up. So these are some of the things. So inshallah, and also, now you may say, but the Prophet said that, you know the hadith, the amazing hadith, بُعِثْتُ أَنَا وَسَاءَ هَاتَيْنِ, that between me and the end of time, it's like that. You may say that. So all these things are happening, then that means the time, the hour is very close. Yes, the hour is very close, but is this the hour? No, it's not. So inshallah, as I said, I'm going to I'm going to read this hadith to you. So I will explain, and this is my entire discourse for tonight. So inshallah, from next week, we are going to start in a chronological order about the minor signs. I'm only going to take one lesson for the minor signs. There's only few of them. My idea is to give you more about the major signs. So we'll start with Mahdi, Dajjal, and all these other people, inshallah. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is saying. كنا قعودا عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فذكر الفتن, or fitan. Okay, so he says that this is a Sahaba, Abu Hurairah is this, and he's sitting kunna, like there's a lot of people, not just one guy, okay? This is a plural. So everyone is sitting, we are sitting with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he's actually talking about fitan. He's talking about trials. He's talking about tribulation. And then he says, فَأَكْثَرَ فِي ذِكْرِهَا حَتَّى ذَكَرَ فِتْنَةَ الْأَحْلَاسِ. So he said he is speaking about, and he talks about a lot of things, different things are going to come, until he comes to what he says, fitnat al-ahlas. Now, ahlas is actually, it's before you put on the camel, there is a cloth. So it comes from the word hils in Arabic. Hils is that word, cloth that you put before the saddle, so the camel, the saddle does not go directly on top of the back of the camel. So this is what it is. And basically, ahlas in this hadith actually means it's always there. What does it mean it's always there? So if you see a camel with the saddle, do you think hils is there? It's always there. And so this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, that this fitna that will happen, it will always be there. It's not going anywhere. It is just there, it's prevalent. What is coming? And then he says, فَقَالَ قَائِلٌ, so someone asked, Ya Rasulullah, وَمَا فِتْنَ الْأَحْلَاسِ? What is this? Now what is this, something which is always there? And then he says, هِيَ هَرْبٌ وَحَرْبٌ. That he says that this is the time where people are constantly fighting and there are wars. Constant wars. Now you may say, oh, the Russian war's one, and the second one's the Palestinian one, and there's more to come. But then there's more to come, and then we'll talk inshallah. Right now, that's not the time. It's not always there. Okay, now moving on. ثُمَّ فِتْنَةَ السَّرَّاءِ. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is actually saying, fitnat al-sarra, after that, you be tested with good times. Now, subhanallah, you may say, yes, we're in the good time now, because we live in Australia, mashallah, we've got these mansions that we live in, we drive these massive cars, and we've got everything on our disposal, running water, you name it, everything's on our disposal. And understand, subhanallah, when you look at the sciences, when you look at good times, good time is a fitna as well. Why? Because we get deluded. We just think Allah loves us and Allah's looking after us. When you're constantly in difficulty, your hands are always raised, because you're asking Allah, oh Allah, help me, take me out of this. But when you're relaxed, how many of us really think about Allah? We're relaxed, in the luxury of the cars, you know, and we're driving, we're in luxury of our houses, we're relaxed. I tell you what, and this is my challenge question, I'm not saying you're good people, okay? I'm not saying about you guys. Go in your circles, and you know what, the Palestinian cause started on the 7th. SubhanAllah, it always starts on the day when the conflict happens. I ask you, what was the last time that you made dua for them? It's over a month now. I'm not asking you that you're doing it behind the Imam 5 times a day. I'm not asking that. In your own time, when was the last time you made dua for them? That's the question. Why? Because most of us are in good time. I said, you're a good people. Don't think that question was for you. It's actually for the people who are really in good time. That's the question. You know, we get absorbed by this dunya, and we're constantly being absorbed by so many things. Now, moving on, that we're constantly being tested with this good time, and then we forget about anything that's coming our way. Now, he says, right after that, he says that دخلها من تحت قدم رجل من أهل بيتي يزعم إنه مني وليس مني إنما أولياء المتقون. That he said that at that time a man will enter you and come as a leader to you, and he will be from my family, but he's not from my family. He's from my family, but he's not from my family. What does that mean? He's from my lineage, but he's deluded by this dunya. He's running after the dunya. So that takes him away from being from my family. And then Rasulullah says, who is my family? He says over here, إِنَّمَا أَوْلِيَاءَ الْمُتَّقُونَ. That the people who are awliya, that the ones who are closer to Allah and the ones who have taqwa, they're my family. Not this man that will enter you, and not this man that's from my family, but is deluded by the dunya. You see many people today, and a very simple example. SubhanAllah, this is another one. And my Pakistani brothers here, they love me. Do you know there's so many Sayyids in Pakistan? Every third person is from the family of Rasulullah. You know, sometimes I wonder, when did they ride the camel and made the hijrah all the way, and they came to India where there was hardly any Islam, but they didn't go to the other lands of Arab. I'm not kidding you. 1/3 of the people in Pakistan are Sayyid, from the family of Rasulullah. And I remember this, and I'm not going to say this because I have to go home as well. So anyways, we'll change the topic. But the idea is every third person is the family of Rasulullah. So if you are the family of Rasulullah, even Rasulullah is saying you're not from my family if you're not following what you should be doing. So being just a title does not help you. You need to be from the people that follows the ways of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he says, ثم يستلح الناس على رجل كوارك على دلع. Now at that time a man will enter. Now kawarik and dala'a. Kawarik actually is the thigh, and dala'a is actually the rib. Now he says a man is going to come, he's not going to be stable. If you put the rib on the thigh, what will happen? It's not going to be stable. So Rasulullah is giving an analogy over here. As an analogy, the man who enters himself as a leader is not stable himself. Himself is shaky. Alright, so this is the time that will come. ثُمَّ فِتْنَةِ دُحَيْمَةِ. This is the time that the fitna of Duhayma will start. And this is, in Arabic, Duhayma actually comes from Dahma, which is actually black. So this is the time the black fitna will come, or maybe a disease will come upon you. And now, when the people read this, they're like, see, coronavirus. Why? Because the hadith actually says this. He says, لا تدع أحد من هذه الأمة إلا لتمه لتمة. That no one in this ummah will be saved from that. You will be inflicted somehow by it. And mashallah, everyone that sits over here, if you are alive, you made it after 2021, which you have, because I'm definitely not in this deja vu or nostalgia moment where I'm seeing some souls over here, but you all have made it. Somehow you were inflicted, or your family member, or your house, or yourself, you were all inflicted. And so people say, you know what, this is it. That's coronavirus. But guess what? Let's read forward and see if it was really coronavirus or not. And it says, فَإِذَا قِيلًا قَدَتْ تَمَاذَا يُصْبِحُ الرَّجُلُ فِيهَا مُؤْمِنًا وَيُمْسِي كَافِرًا. That right after that, you will go to bed and you will wake up, people will go to sleep as Muslim and they will wake up kafir, and some will go up as kafir and they will wake up believer. Now I tell you what, if you were inflicted by coronavirus, you did not wake up Christian in the morning. So that's it. So that was not it. That's not the time. So if you woke up Muslim, then you're not fulfilling this hadith. That's coming in chronological order. So this is what the hadith is saying, that people after that, duhayma, after that, they will go to sleep as believers and wake up kafir. This is what exactly the hadith says. حتى يسير الناس إلى فستتين. That people will be divided. Fustatain actually means the two groups. And then he says, فُسْتَاتِ إِيمَانِ لَا نِفَاقَ فِيهِ وَفُسْتَاتِ نِفَاقِ لَا إِيمَانَ فِيهِ. Now there will be two groups. One group that has iman in their hearts, and they will have no hypocrisy. And there will be a group that will be hypocrites, and they will have no iman in them, no belief in them. Now subhanallah, have we seen this time? No, I haven't seen those times yet. And I'll tell you why, because when you see people with the iman, we haven't seen that we haven't seen two clear groups. You will be able to see it. Even today we've got hypocrites in the ranks of the Muslims. We're not able to differentiate. This hadith says that you'll be able to differentiate. There'll be a group of believers and there'll be a group of hypocrites. Subhanallah, how many people that you know in your own ranks are hypocrites, but they're living like believers. So we're not able to differentiate between them. And then he also says, and subhanallah, one very quick tangent, just remember this speaker that I was talking about, he said that also gave an analogy that Dajjal is actually TV. Why? Because Dajjal will actually give you false news. And subhanAllah, if you look at today, the argument makes sense, because the TV every time is false news. It's rampant. That's what you get from TV. Also, and Dajjal will enter every household. SubhanAllah, you'll be no one over here, I may kiss your hand if you don't have a TV in the house. If it's a woman, sorry, I can't do that, only kidding. But if you don't have a TV, I'm telling you, everyone that's sitting over here, you all have TVs in your house. And this is what it is. So, and it says, and we all fit the bill. If you're looking at this, mashallah, it's going in the right direction. Feeding you false news. It's in every household. Now what does it say? It will have only one eye. MashaAllah, the TV only has one eye. It's only one screen. So it's fitting the bill. But then if you look at the other hadith, it says that on its forehead, it does not say LG. It says kafir. So if your TV says LG, then you're safe. It's not Dajjal. Because the Dajjalic TV will have kafir on it. I don't know if that brand's ever made or not, but this is something that we need to know, because this is what people feed us, and we fall for these traps. And we start making these analogies. Oh, this TV is Dajjal. But guess what? It's an LG, it's not kafir. I mean, I haven't seen a brand yet, but if you're making that brand, may Allah help you, but in the right cause that you stop making that brand. So it's important. So these hadith has to be looked into that, into that category. Now moving on, what's the hadith? Last part of it. فَإِذَا كَانَ ذَاكُمْ فَانْتَظِرُوا الدَّجَّالِ. That if this all happens, what all? Ihlas. What happened after that? Rampant killing. What happened after that? Someone's going to come from my family. He will be from my family, but he's not from my family. And the people who are believers are from my family. What happens after that? You will get a leader that will be unstable. What happens after that? You will get a duhayma. The black fitna or the disease that will come. And what happens after that? You go to bed believer and you wake up disbeliever. And what happens after that? You will get two groups of people that you can differentiate. And what happens after that? Dajjal comes out. This is when the Dajjal comes out. Min yawmihi aw min ghadi. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if this all happens, then between Dajjal, when he comes out, min yawmihi, it's only a day, or ghadi, or tomorrow. Now subhanallah, did after coronavirus Dajjal come out? When was the last time we saw that? You know, so many variants came. I even lost count. I don't know how many variants there were. So did Dajjal come out after that, after a day or two? No, he hasn't. So everyone sitting over here, when we say, I tell you this is what you want to take from today, is when all these things happen in order. I'm not saying it cannot happen tomorrow. Allah can enable things and things can happen tomorrow. But right now, are we in that time? No, we're not. Is this the war that's happening? Is this the end of times? No, it's not. That all these things that are happening right now, is this the end of it? No, it's not. It's not the end of it. Because we don't have that chronological order. This is where people come, they confuse you. I tell you what, there's mashallah all these youngsters, and I love to see all my students from back in the days, kind of nostalgia for me, but they've been binging on YouTube. I know these guys. And they watch all these videos, they can give you the lectures. And you know, one of them is Islam Production. That's a really big one. You've got, you know, Brother Sean laughing at the back. I think he was also binging on that one. So it's important that you listen to, and you've got this AI voice in the background. It's not even a real man. And so you're watching all these videos and then you get excited and then you want to go, and the youngsters, they love. They want to go fight the Dajjal. They want to be there in that army. And they want to do that. But you know what? Sorry, the youngsters, the Dajjal's not out yet. Because what we have, we cannot manipulate the words of Rasulullah. When we look at the words of Rasulullah, we look at the way how he presented it. Even he's saying, between me and the Day of Judgment is like that. It doesn't mean that Day of Judgment was tomorrow. There are things that need to happen in order for that Day of Judgment to come about. So, also, subhanAllah, just very quickly, want to give you, even Mahdi has not come out. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, and this is what I want you to listen to very carefully. Before Mahdi comes out, there will be a Khalifa that will be the leader of the world. Now did you know that? That'll be a Khalifa. Do you think Sisi is going to give the bay'ah to a Khalifa? Do you think MBS will give bay'ah? Do you think Nawaz Sharif? They're worried about their own countries. They're not giving bay'ah to anyone. So there'll be one Khalifa that Muslims will be following. Now you're thinking, under the nose of America, under the nose of UK, that there will be a Khalifa. Yes, there will be a Khalifa. We don't know how, but the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Mahdi is not coming out until this Khalifa is there, until this Khalifa dies. There will be a Khalifa. And then what the hadith says afterwards, that when this Khalifa dies, then his 3 sons will fight for the treasures which are buried under the Kaaba. Now, it does not mean there'll be treasure under the Kaaba. So next time when you go to Umrah, don't go with a shovel and start digging. It doesn't mean that. Because even if you start digging, you know, may Allah help you, you will be unknown to the entire world after that. So it doesn't mean that. It means it could be the wealth that the guy, because you know the Amir or the President or the Mālik of Saudi, he's called al-Khadim al-Harmayn. So these places are under him. So it's the treasure that he's holding. So these people, these 3 sons will fight for that treasure. And they will come and they will fight. And after that, Mahdi will run from Medina. He will go from Medina and he will go to Mecca. So he'll go from there. He will run. He will take refuge into Mecca. He'll go there. Now, this hasn't happened. Also, Mahdi is not your everyday Hafiz that is sitting inside the madrasa and memorizing 30 juz of Quran. The hadith clearly says, يُصْلِحُ اللَّهُ فِي اللَّيْلَ. Allah will fix his affairs in one night. It could be someone that no one knows. It could be someone that's not even religious. It's Allah that will choose that Mahdi. Yes, he will come from the family of Rasulullah. Now Pakistanis, don't get excited. It's definitely not from the 1/3 population. But he will be from the family of Rasulullah. And he will be from Wuldi Hassan, not Hussein. We have the hadith of Abu Dawood and the brothers from another mother, which is the Shias, that's what I call them. They believe he's from Wuldi Hussein. And we say no. We have the hadith in Abu Dawood. It says Fatima, he's from Fatima, but he's Wuldi Hassan. He's from the first brother, not from the second brother. They have the Imam, the 12th Imam, which is hiding in the cave. Their Mahdi is already born. I don't know what he's eating, but he's been hiding for a long time. You know, if you really read their literature, it doesn't make sense. He's been in a cave for a very long time. That's 1200 years. I mean, it's Ashabul Cave or some kind of miracle there, but he's been there for a very long time. So our Mahdi will be born. He will be born from the family of Rasulullah. That's why many Mahdis have come. Do you know in 1979, when Kaaba was taken for a siege, at that time, the guy who took it for his siege, his brother-in-law was Muhammad, and he was from the family of Rasulullah. So he convinced him that you're the Mahdi, I will take over the Kaaba. This is 1979, and you're living, not in your living memory, some of you definitely in your living memory, when you were kids at that time, you probably may have heard it, that they went inside the Kaaba and they took the whole Kaaba under siege. And that was laid under siege. No one could come in and no one could go out. This is the time of King Khalid. He only did a very short term for 4 or 5 years. He came right after Faisal. So right after Faisal he came, he had a very short tenure. So he came for a very short tenure, he died, and after that came the King Fahd, which had the longest tenure in the history, in the modern day history. He ruled from 81 all the way to 2003 or 1. And subhanallah, when they took over the siege of Kaaba, they took all these people and they didn't even know, poor thing. You know, the Pakistanis and these guys, the Turkish, all these guys, they go to the Kaaba most. If you ever been to Umrah, you see non-Arabs are the most over there. And this is so funny. This is from the Sheikh who was there at that time. He narrates a story to the students of Medina. He said the man Juhayman came to the microphone and he's saying in Arabic that we've taken the entire Kaaba on siege and no one is allowed to move. He said the Pakistanis, poor thing, and the Indians and the Bangladeshis, they thought the Imam's making dua after Salah and they kept on saying Ameen. Every time he paused, they're saying Ameen. The man's saying you're going to die, and these guys are Ameen. That's why it's important, you know Arabic language as well. So there's no exaggeration. The man's giving speech, they thought it's a dua after Salah. And they kept on saying Ameen. So after that they were all brought out. There was 40 of them. And in the history of Saudi, it was a deterrent. They were all chopped, meaning they were given capital punishments. They were all beheaded. And 70 of them. So they were all, they were taken out. The ones who actually took them out, and this is something you guys can be proud of, the guy who participated in the commandos was Musharraf Parvez. He was that young commando that went in to actually take these guys out. As the army that came from Pakistan, the SPG commandos, I don't know if it's SCG or whatever commandos, SSG. See, I don't even know about Pakistan that much. That's how much I love Pakistan. So SSG commandos, they were the ones who actually came there, and they're the ones who freed, because they had a plan, and their plan worked, and this is how they took all these guys out. So the idea is that Mahdis have come many times. You have this guy, there's someone might come and say to you, but I'm Mahdi. You don't even have to listen to him. Why? Because you know the signs now. No Khalifa has come, but he's going to say, but listen to me, hear me out. He's going to say, you know what, there's no Khalifa that's come yet, so you can't be Mahdi. So it's important that we need to know our religion really well. I'll give you another example for you to understand very quickly how this works. You know, when children tell me they've seen Rasulullah, what does the hadith say? Does anyone know what the hadith says? If you've seen the Prophet, then you've seen me. Okay, that's what the hadith says. Children say we've seen Rasulullah. When they describe Rasulullah, I say you've seen your grandfather, that was not your Rasulullah. And they get upset. But I saw the man, he had white beard. I said, you're wrong, because Rasulullah did not have white beard. The only white hair he had was close to 11 and 13. This is what the hadith says. So if next time you saw the man with the white beard, that's your grandfather. That's not Rasulullah. You need to know these signs. So if he's come to you and he said something to you, that was definitely your grandfather, the one who you could not see in your lifetime. Or maybe someone in the masjid that comes and you have seen him. There are descriptions in our hadith. So when someone talks about Mahdi, Mahdi doesn't happen like that. These are descriptions that needs to be followed. And you know, subhanAllah, there's many things that we can talk about. Also, the sign after that, the children that will fight, when they hear about Mahdi has come out, they will come to fight. They will come to take over him. What will happen when they get there? The earth will swallow the army. The earth will swallow the entire army, and they will all be swallowed. And this is the Muslim army that will go to fight to actually take down Mahdi. Then from the east, the army will come. The army will come from the east with the flag. And this is the army that will help Mahdi, and that's when he's going to go to Quds. That's when all these malahim will happen, which is Malhamatul Kubra, which you guys have been binging on, the Great War, the Armageddon. And then I'm sure you know more about Armageddon than anyone else if you've been watching those videos. So this will happen then. So this is one war after the other, one war after the others. And in my next lecture, I will speak about these. Now, subhanAllah, there were many people, it's not just you, many people, scholars even came, and they even went backwards from the signs to see if this is the time and how far the timeline is. There's no problem in making those assumptions. But then giving your verdict that this is it, that's happening, that's the army coming, then that's a problem. Okay, this is where we need to draw a line. This is where we have to be very careful. And then people say, we've got modern day people, they say we've got Google Earth. You've heard that argument. I have seen on Google Earth, where is Ya'juj and Ma'juj? I haven't seen a wall, I haven't seen people behind the wall. I can see my house, it's static, but I can't see people behind the wall. See, there are some knowledge Allah has kept, ilmul ghayb. That's why it's called the hidden knowledge. No matter how sophisticated these lenses are, no matter what you have, you're never going to be able to know about this stuff. And don't worry if you don't know. Why? If it's better for you not to know, why? You have more time. Why don't you use your time? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, are you, when the day of judgment happens, the hadith, amazing hadith, even the day of judgment's happening, if you are, if you're plowing a seed, then don't leave the seed, plow it. Why? Because you have a chance to do good action. So children, don't wait for Mahdi. You live in Australia, you live far away, you might not even get Emirates Airlines to get there, to where if Mahdi does arrive in that part of the world. So worry about what have you done. Even the man, when he came to ask, when's the day of judgment? What did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? What have you prepared for it? That's the question. So worrying about when is our coming, when is this coming, it's a really nice gossip conversation. It's really saucy. It's very nice. It says, and then Ya'juj and Ma'juj and Dajjal coming and all these things and catastrophes that will happen. That's very saucy conversation. But where does it take you? You look at the children today, subhanAllah. And I'm talking about the youth. We have, in my days it was YouTube. You started from one video, you ended up to the other one, and then you ended up to some other genre, and then you went to some other genre. You started with Mahdi, and then you were watching Federer play Rafael Nadal, and it was a set point. Where in the world you got from Mahdi to Nadal and Federer playing or a tennis game? And this is exactly, subhanallah, I tell you what, and I can proudly say that I don't have Dajjal on my phone, TikTok. You know, the Dajjal of today, where you guys, and that's why, now I know why do you type fast. That's why now your thumb actually moves faster than anything else. It's like this. So I can't even do that. You're like this, you're just skipping the videos. I can say you can come and check my phone, I don't have it. I refuse. I'm already binging on so much. I refuse to have that on my phone. And that's why you see the younger people, these children, they are constantly unhappy. Why? Because you have been raised in a society of instant gratification. This is what TikTok does. Who's going to watch my 1 hour lecture? You'd be bored. If I had a 7-second lecture, you'll be watching that. You will love to watch it. And that's why you see today the new university, and that's why in the classroom as well, the parents probably know this, the children have short span. As soon as the teacher starts talking, after 10 minutes you've lost him. And this is why today people do not come to long lectures. Even sitting in the khutbah, people are bored. They get their phones out, they go start looking at things that they want to do, and this is what's happening today. And this is exactly the time. Now, subhanallah, now just to summarize, you need to understand in conclusion, we live in a time where there's nothing at the moment which tells us that Mahdi is coming. None of these signs that I've read to you, none of these signs, I've only taken one hadith. That's just one hadith I took. And none of that actually tells you that Mahdi, or if you look at, reconcile the entire hadith, it does not talk about these signs happening one after the other. So there's no chronological order. It really doesn't look like. So the most important things, I'm not saying it cannot happen in 10 years' time. I'm not saying it cannot happen in 5 years' time. Allah can change the entire situation of the world. In the next 5 years, the whole event starts and Mahdi is there. Not saying it cannot happen. But if you're talking about right now, it's not. And I'll tell you why. And this is what my finishing point is. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said, when Bayt al-Maqdis, there'll be a time when Bayt al-Maqdis will become so popular that Medina will be deserted. No one will go to Medina. Can you imagine that? You all have been to Umrah. This is the hadith of Rasulullah. You will desert Medina. There'll be no one going to Medina. And also, one of the hadith says that the time will come that it will be abandoned to the limit that the two wolves will come and they will go to the mimbar of Rasulullah and they will urinate. Why? There will be no one to stop these wolves. There's no people over there. Can you imagine the city of Rasulullah? Have you seen that time? I've just come back from Umrah. And Medina is such a busy place that I did not see any abandonment over there. Even if you want to go to pray in his grave, you'd be lucky to make it to his grave to pray. You need an app nowadays. Once you download that app, it only gives you one chance in your entire trip, because that app blocks you out for 41 days. You can't book another visit there. The hadith says Bayt al-Maqdis will be taken as a place and Medina will be abandoned. Is that time right now? No, it's not. So where's Mahdi? He's not going to be coming until this happens. Also, moving on, it says there will be great battles that will be happening. Muslims will be fighting. The battle which is Armageddon, which I'll give you a very quick summary. It's first the Europeans and the Muslims, the Christians and the Muslims, they will fight against one army. They will defeat it. After that, they will say, the Christians will be said, it's because of the cross that we won. And one of the Muslims will get upset and kill him. And they will both fight them. And then 1/3 of the army will run away, and they will be the ones who will be cursed forever. 1/3 of the army will die, and 1/3 of the army will be victorious. And when they're of the army, with this army that will come from south, from Mecca and Medina, this army that will come, that will help them, and they will kill them. So inshallah, as I said, I'll speak about this in more detail completely. This is Malhamatul Kubra. And after that, another thing, subhanAllah, we've got people from Turkey over here. Bad news for you guys. Why? Because Turkey will be taken. The hadith says Constantinople will not be in Muslim hands. Has that happened? Now some of you might say, this is one of the arguments, and I'm saying this is not the argument. Some scholars said Constantinople after the Ottomans has not been Muslim country. I disagree with that argument. This argument can be debunked in just one statement I'll make. I asked these people, they said Kemal Atatürk came and he made it a place which is very lavish and Western, and it will become part of EU, and they give all these analogies. Let me debunk you. I'll tell you, I'll ask you a question. Is Istanbul not more Muslim than Dubai? It was the last time you went to Istanbul and you did not hear the adhan from there, from the masajid. When was the last time you did not see people becoming huffaz in the masjids of Istanbul? So if that's happening, if you're calling Dubai a Muslim country, a city, I'll tell you what, you have to be just. Then Istanbul is a Muslim city. Because what happens in Dubai does not even happen in Las Vegas. It's a Muslim country. So that argument's completely debunked. So yes, it will be taken, we don't know how. It will go. And then the second argument, which we can say that something will happen. Something, maybe become part of the EU, maybe they will take over, something will happen. Wallahu alam, I don't know. This is where ilmul ghaib comes. That's where you have to trust Allah and what Allah is doing. We cannot know everything. And there's one of the things, see, Rasulullah said, if you knew what was happening inside the graves, you would not even be able to go to bed. That's how terrified you'll be. So if you know what I can see, and you're not able to go to, you ask everyone over here, you've all buried a Muslim. You all buried a Muslim. When you come back from the graveyard, you feel down. You've all been watching these videos, these little children, the women, men, all are dying, fathers crying. We feel it. And we feel bad for them. And we feel terrified. But does our life revolve around that? No, it does not. And we move on and we'll go back in our lives. So this argument again is debunked as well. That yes, it will be taken. But guess what? Who will actually take this back? The hadith says the people who have converted to Islam, and they will go and they will just free. As I read in the start of my lecture, they will take over Constantinople without shooting an arrow. With Alhamdulillah, with Tahleel, with La ilaha illallah, and with Takbir, Allahu Akbar. Just by saying it, they will take over Constantinople. Okay, so this is it. So understand, guys, Dajjal hasn't appeared, and he's not come, and the guy that you saw in your backyard, he was definitely not Dajjal, and Netanyahu is not Dajjal as well. Maybe he's from his progeny. I think Netanyahu is actually from the progeny of Pharaoh. That's what my thinking is. I can be wrong. Again, I gave you my opinions. You can argue with me. I'm not saying these are the things which are clear cut. I told you this is the knowledge of unseen. We can make claims over here. So understand, why do you think, now one more argument very quickly, I'll close over here, I promise I'll close. And I'll open it for questions. I ask you this. I told you that Medina will be abandoned. Now, why do you think if Medina is abandoned, Dajjal will not be allowed to go back in Medina? So it seems like there'll be people over there then. There'll be people over there. Afterwards, Allah will send people again. Maybe something happened. Maybe a volcano came. Maybe they all died. Maybe some new migration happened. And some more people will come. So that's why there will be people. That's why Dajjal, that's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that these places will be safe. Medina and Mecca. Dajjal will not be able to enter there. He will not be able to come over there. His fitna will not reach there. They're safe places. So inshallah, that's something I wanted to give you. Oh, so they've got alarm for the imams as well, when to stop. Okay, that's a good one. So anyways, I'll open it for the questions. I know Salah is not till next 15 minutes. So I'll open it for question. And then what I'll do is, I actually have it's kind of a monologue, but I will open it for question and then I'll go back to this one. Yes? Any questions? And inshallah from the next lectures, as I said, we will actually be studying the minor signs in the next lecture, and particularly the next lecture is about malahim. Malahim in Arabic actually means battles. So malhama is one. So we'll be actually looking at all these battles in chronological order, which happens first and what comes next and what comes next, and how the Dajjal will come out. This is what we're going to look at, inshallah. And I don't have to tell you other signs. SubhanAllah, every other sign is rampant. SubhanAllah, you look at one of the signs which really is rampant, that of homosexuality. We live in a country where it's become so prevalent that now you don't be scared if it's coming. One of the fathers, I know, one of my close friends, he sent me this message. I didn't reply back to him. He must be thinking I'm ignoring him. This is what he said. He said, write to your MP about conversion therapy. So right now they are making the conversion therapy law in New South Wales. This is the guy that you voted for, Labour. I saw some of the Muslims, campaigning for Labour. May Allah help them. As a people, subhanAllah, this is the Labour government that is actually said Israel's got every right to defend themselves. I tell you this, and you may think I'm a stooge. I don't care if you call me a stooge or a sellout. I tell you this. The right wing is extremist. It's your enemy, and they're open enemy. They tell you that we hate Islam. They tell you we hate the refugees. They tell you that we don't want you. And guess what? That's a better person. Why? Because you know what your enemy hates. It's easy to deal with them. But then you've got this left wing. MashaAllah, the grass is very green over here because it hasn't been mowed for a long time. So guess what happens? They tell you that we love you. We're going to stand up for Islamophobia. And we also, Penny Wong said that we also recognize that Israel has been taking the land away, an occupation and all that. She said that. And we acknowledge that. Penny Wong is the first one on a tweet after the 7. She said Israel's got the right to defend herself. Albanese, such a hypocrite. When he was young, was a Labour Party member, he actually gave a talk at a protest, a Palestinian protest, wearing a Palestinian scarf and talking out of his lungs, screaming his lungs out. The same hypocrite says Israel's got a right to defend. He knew what was happening 20 years ago when he made that speech, but the narrative started from the 7th. That's the problem. So I never vote for, and I would never vote for Green as well, because mashallah, Green are more greener than Labour. Although I would give it to Green, sitting in the masjid, Adam Bent, put a tweet out there, if you are on X. He said, from the river to the sea. And then he said, I stand with Gaza and stop genocide in Gaza. Adam Bent's the leader of Greens. Looks like a decent guy, but he's Green, so Greens cannot be decent. So he said this. Guess what? Am I going to fall for that? No, I'm not. But is it humanity that, should I praise him for that? Yes. I might just put a handle, thank you Adam Bent for realizing the pain of the Muslims. And I acknowledge you. But I might put another handle saying, but don't get ahead of yourself because I'm not going to vote for you in the next election. Because I'm telling you, the agenda, and I have been very vocal. Yes, we worry about foreign affairs. We have to worry about Muslims. They are our brothers. But worry about your children as well, because your children are growing up. Not many parents send their children to Muslim schools. Your child is growing up. You know what? There's a new thing that's happening in public school. Furries. I was amazed, and I actually didn't even know what this is. And I said the people identify themselves as cats. And I'm like, what? Cats. I identify as a white Anglo-Saxon, and I'm from the progeny of Churchill, and I've got every right to be bigot and to say whatever you like. So this is kind of like that. You know, you can identify whatever you like. This is a problem. Can you imagine cats and coming to school and you have to deal with that? The teachers have to deal with this because they identify as a cat. So now you have to look into that. And your child is constantly being exposed to that. If you send your child to a public school, your child is in a classroom with all these people. With all these people. They are. They're in the classroom with the dog, with a cat, with a man who looks like a woman. So they're with everyone. They're with everyone. You'd be amazed. These are children that we're dealing with. At least the Muslim schools have morality. That we take people in our schools based on their genders, and you can't change your gender once you come to Muslim school. The only time you change your gender when you leave the school. You know, Imam's at the back, he can vouch for that. That no one's allowed to change the gender. Am I right? Okay, well anyways, this is just a simple thing, and inshallah, I'm not going to waste my time. This is one of the minor signs that we're seeing. It's rampant, and inshallah when I go, I'll go into the wars, and I will be back in fortnight, because thanks to these young guys, they've got a lecture every fortnight, and because I'm so boring, they don't invite me as well, so I'll have my boring session in a fortnight. Yes, I'm happy to take questions, guys. Challenge me. You have 5 minutes to challenge me. Yes, I think like you want to challenge me. Yes, go for it.
Question: what is the difference between Shaitan and Dajjal?
Okay, that's a very good question. Shaitan is someone that lured our father, and he was the reason, the main reason that we are in over here. And this is the Shaitan that will be coming to everyone. He comes to all of us, and he's been deceiving us. Dajjal's that special character that will be sent in the end of times. He will be assisted by Shaitan as well. Shaitan's that Iblis that was kicked out. That's clear difference. So he sets up his throne in the waters every night. And you know the hadith. Every Shaitan, the little Shaitan, we all have a Shaitan. Do you know that? Everyone's got a Shaitan on their back. He's piggybacking us. Right now he's with us as well. He's the one who's telling you that, you know, when is he going to stop? You know that guy? If you hear that sound, that's Shaitan. That's not your angel. So that's the Shaitan. You know, he's everywhere. So Shaitan came in the war in Badr, to understand. And when he saw the angels coming, he ran away. He said, what I see, you cannot see. And he ran away all the way to the sea, and he reminded Allah, oh Allah, I made a dua that you're not going to take me till the end of the world, and don't take me because the time has not come. And he's running away. He's so scared because he saw Jibreel come down. So that's Shaitan. Dajjal is only for that time. And understand, children, Dajjal is not Conor McGregor that you can fight like Khabib inside the cage. Dajjal's a warning. Okay, we run away from him. You hear about Dajjal, even if it's a fake one, don't go to check him out. Okay, we've got clear descriptions of the Dajjal, and inshallah I'll go into that. Yes, does that answer your question? Anyone else? Do you know who's another shaitan? I'll give you another one. This is a human shaitan, and his name is Douglas Murray. I don't know if you know him. Do you guys know Douglas Murray? He's a shaitan, he's from UK. He was on Piers Morgan's show, and this is what he said. Piers Morgan says to him, it's about the Palestinian march which is happening on the 11th, which is tomorrow in UK. UK's got the biggest Palestinian march that's ever happened. 500,000 people turned up, and this is the march. And the people of UK are really going hard. And it's not just Muslims, it's everyone else. So Piers Morgan say, isn't it the right to Douglas Murray? Douglas Murray's wearing a vest and he's in Israel somewhere, as if a bomb's going to come and hit him in Israel. That's the most safest place at the moment. And he's pretending as if some bullet's going to come. So Douglas Murray says to Douglas Murray, you are very, you're very much always anti-Muslim, and you come like that. Don't you think everyone's got a right? Don't you know Christopher Hitchens said? This is what Christopher Hitchens said. He said that everyone has got a right to uphold free speech. So don't you think it's a free speech for these people to go and protest? And then he also reminds him about Nicholas Psalms. Nicholas Psalms actually is the grandchild of Churchill. That's another shaitan. You know, he was anti-Semitic, and at the same time he was Islamophobe as well. He said to use these brown people. Why? Because their life does not matter. So these brown people can die from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. So that's what Winston Churchill was. Now, Winston Churchill is there, and he's saying that this is Nicholas Psalms. That's Winston Churchill's grandson. And he says, no one should be stopped. They've got every right to go and practice freedom of speech. Now, this is what Douglas Murray says. Douglas Murray says the first thing is that it is grotesque insult to the British culture to allow terrorists to be on the streets on the 11th. These are not people who are practicing freedom of speech. These are people who are celebrating the murders of Jewish children and Jewish families. This is what he says for the first one. This argument can be debunked easily. I don't have time for that. What does he say for the second one? This gets interesting. Nicholas Psalms, who's a white guy who's related to Winston Churchill, who's the grandson of Winston Churchill. What does he say about him? He says, oh, this guy is not hereditary inheritant of Winston Churchill. Why? Because he's a grandson. He's not the son of Winston Churchill. So whatever comes out of his mouth, we should not take it seriously. So that's another one, Douglas Murray. So these are the people that you have to be very careful. And he spewed a lot of hate in this interview. SubhanAllah, these people, I say about these people, these are cowards. They just love the microphone, and they speak behind that microphone. All these people, Ben Shapiro's and all these, the likes of these people, they love their rooms, they love their microphones, and they just speak on these microphones. You know, they don't have the bottle to speak man to man to someone who knows the narrative. So inshallah we'll finish on that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow me and you to become the people that understand and take this religion seriously. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to use us for the cause of the Muslim causes which are around the world, and particularly use us for this current cause, this cause that we are seeing where our Palestinian brothers and sisters are asking for help. So whichever way we can become help to these people, help these people. You know, if you've got a voice, raise your voice. If you've got power, use that power. Go and talk to your neighbors, give them the narrative. It did not start on the 7th. It started in 1948. And I want to finish off with this one. This is close to the Pakistanis, and that's why I want to say this. Douglas Murray in the same interview says, if Britain is giving the right to these Muslims to walk because they say Israel was made in 1948, then everyone in Britain should be allowed to protest against Pakistan, because that also came roughly in the same year, and they should also go on the street and they should also say Pakistan does not have the right to exist. This is that bigot. SubhanAllah, Pakistan got freedom before India. So if he was to speak about someone, he could have spoken about India, but he chose Pakistan to speak about that. These are those bigots that we cannot deal with, and we cannot win. Why? Because they're just the soundboard, and they're making noises just to these cameras and whatnot. So inshallah, we ask Allah to use us and make dua as much as you can. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free our brothers and sisters. As I said to you, the good news is we don't have to wait till Mahdi for the Quds to be freed, because it will be freed before he comes. Inshallah. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفر الله إنه الغفور الرحيم.